Now we're going to be taking a look at the interactive music hierarchy. Now, like anything else in Wise, there are several different approaches available to you when you're implementing your music. This depends on a lot of factors, including what kind of music you have available to you, how much space you have available to you, and the manner in which you would like to implement the music and how interactive you want the music to be. So we're going to take a look at a couple of different options for how you can control music in Wise, and also how you can combine those two methods. So for starters, let's import some music. And we're just going to use these Music Explorer tracks to start. So go ahead and click them and drag them into your default work unit. And now you'll see that they are automatically being set up as music segments. We'll take a look at what that means in a minute. For now, this is ideal, and hit import. So now let's take a look at these. If we click on this, we're going to see a bit of basic information here, such as the name of the file, and we can click into it and look at it as if it was a sound effect. But really, this is not very useful to us when we're working with music. We want much more information, such as the tempo and so on. So there's a special layout for that called the music layout, and you can access that by going to Layouts, Interactive Music, or you can select F10. So let's just resize this window a little bit, and we can take a look at the main features. So here you can see that we have a visual of the waveform of that music track, and we also have some time code here. Now right away, let's right click here and change this from seconds to bars and beats. Now we have a visual representation of the tempo of that music. This doesn't quite line up, and let's take a look at this file name. This is really useful if you can name your files containing major information such as the beats per minute. We also have L4, that means length 4 measures, PE1B, that is a pre-entry of 1 beat, and PO2B, that is a post-exit of 2 beats, version 1. As you can see, there are several versions here. So that's really important because this tells you how you want to set up that sound file in this area over here, which is your music segment editor. So let's start with one of these that only has a post exit. It's a little bit more straightforward. So first of all, let's look at that BPM, 105. And you can see our tempo is defaulting at 120, and that's not very useful to us. So let's change this over to 105. Our tempo is 4/4, so that's already correct. And now you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4.5 measures of music here. If you look at the file name, there is a length of 4 measures with a post out of 2 beats. So this is perfect. This lines up correctly. And that's how you know that you have this set up the way it's designed to be, which means that later it will play back correctly when you're transitioning between different kinds of music files. Now this one up here, this is a little different because it has a pre-entry of 1 beat. Sure enough, we'll change that tempo over. And you can see that it doesn't quite line up. It has a length of 4 and an exit of 2, but we have that extra beat there. And so we want to move this forward. Now, in order to do that, you can click and drag this. This is the entry point. And you can move that to give yourself some negative space, which is basically pre-entry, which is part of the music that would be played before the downbeat. Now, if you hold Control, you can click and drag that without having that audio file move, and that does a little bit of work for you. So you could estimate that's about 1 beat, but with music you want to be really accurate. So select Snap to Bars and Beats, and now you can get that exactly there, 1 beat before the downbeat, and you have 2 beats of your post exit. Now you also want to move your exit cue to mark that spot right there. So we have our length, our main downbeat, 1, 2, 3, 4 measures, and then anything that's after that exit cue will still play, but it will play overlapping with the next section of music so that that beat is always maintained. So you'll want to do that with all 4. We'll move that exit cue. And here you can see that it doesn't line up properly because our tempo isn't set yet. So we could go into every single one of these tracks and fix our tempo, but actually there's a shortcut for this. So let's select everything and hit Control M, or right click and select Show in Multi-Editor. Now here you have access to a series of different things that you can set up. You can use this for anything, but in our case, we're going to use it for time settings. Here you can see the time signature is already 4/4, and the tempo has a line right now because we have a mix of tempos in here because we've changed some of them already, and we're going to change them all to 105. And now if you take a look, all of those tempos have been changed over. So this is a great little time saver. So now let's just go ahead and move the rest of our exit cues to their correct positions. And now we're ready to start making this stuff a little bit interactive. But first, there's one last thing that I would like to draw your attention to. Now, our music segments visually show these audio tracks, but you can see that there's a plus sign here. This is not the bottommost level of audio object. So when we're looking at an object that we've imported by default into the actor mixer hierarchy, it's coming in as a sound SFX, and that is the bottom level audio file. And it looks about the same, but the difference is that audio segments actually open up and they have tracks inside them, and they can have more than one track. Now we'll look at that a little bit more later, but I want you to understand that the relationship between these two files is a little different than before, because you'll notice that the contents that we see up here is not actually any different when selecting between these. These music tracks are entirely dependent on music segments to play, and they cannot play independently of music segments, which is to say that I cannot drag this out of the music segment. It cannot live on its own without having a music segment container.